Dear friends, I would warmly welcome you to the Baltics, to the center of Baltics, to Latvia in this nice Latvian summer which is soon ending. I understand that you already had a number of very interesting meetings and discussions before, and in my short presentation I would like to touch a number of issues which I think are very relevant for European Union as well as for our Eastern Partnership countries and our friends in such countries as Moldova, Ukraine, Georgia, and also in those countries which maybe this time are not yet represented in this summer school. Looking to our region and to our global world in the last years, we see a number of challenges. We see challenges starting with security and war in Ukraine, and challenges which are connected with typical conventional issues which we knew already 5 and 10 years ago, and also the new waves and ways which are challenging our security, economy, being and social stability in our countries. Either these are EU countries or Eastern Partnership countries. Of course, in the last year we have been very much concerned with security, and before I go to the other issues I would like to note a few of the things regarding security, first of all in Ukraine. I think that what is very important here to understand that Ukrainian crisis is one of the biggest crises after the end of the Cold War, because it has started from the initiative of our neighboring Russia, which is and was always an important partner for our cooperation, but unfortunately the last 2 years' activities from the Russian side very much destroyed the hopes that we can go forward with business as usual. So from that perspective, European Union countries as well as NATO countries have been forced to make several steps to increase our security and also to increase our cooperation. The war in Ukraine is not over, but in many ways the solution to crisis of Russian invasion in Ukraine, and I have to call these names as they are because we know that there are Russian troops on the Ukrainian soil. We know that Russia has been annexing a sovereign part of Ukrainian territory and thus challenging all the post-Second World War agreements about not changing borders. The solution to this crisis in many ways lies not so much in the hands of Russians, but in the hands of Ukrainians. And we know that in Ukraine municipal elections are approaching, so we also know that there will be a lot of ways how forces inside Ukraine and also from Russia will try to challenge the stability in Ukraine. So it's important that Ukrainian people, Ukrainian nation and Ukrainian government, either it is business people or ordinary population or politicians or military, they are working hand in hand to bring their country in order. Because if Ukrainian government and Ukrainian nation will be capable to preserve stability in their country and to show that they can proceed with reforms which can bring more trust from the public, then no other invaders or occupants will be able to destabilize the situation in Ukraine. So in many ways it is a question to Ukrainians. Are they willing and capable finally to bring your country on the next level of development? And here, of course, the question comes to your partners and friends like us in the Baltic countries, in Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, Poland, that we are willing to help you, and we are willing also to concentrate the attention of other European Union countries to assist you. You also must understand, and this applies not only to Ukrainians but also to Moldovans, to our friends in Georgia, which already experienced invasion in 2008, that also European Union is not at this moment in the best situation. We are partially divided internally. Because, for instance, in European Parliament, which I represent at this moment, almost 25% of parliamentarians are against European Union. For different reasons and with different activities, they are trying to discredit European Union. So there is no wonder that these people are sometimes working hand in hand also with outside forces, either in Russia or other countries, who has such goals, in my understanding. If we speak about Ukraine, Moldova or Georgia, their goal is to make these governments dependent on the decisions which are made in Moscow. So if these countries will not be sustainable, ruled, if they would not have a rule of law, if they would not have a democracy, if they would not have an internal stability, they will be weak and it will be possible to regulate them. Partly it applies also to the institutions and countries of European Union, because if European Union is internally divided, if there is skepticism about the persistence and future of European Union, this is helping such countries and such forces to increase their own power. Because if European Union is united, it is among the strongest elements and unions in the world. European Union's economy is more than 20% of the world. The economy of such countries like, for instance, Russia is only about 2%. So the only thing is how to increase the influence, where I understand also the Russian approach is to decrease the influence of European Union by dividing it. And this frequently happens with our own hands. We can see the divisions about the policies of foreign policy and migration. And if I'm touching migration, we must understand that migration issues cannot be solely solved just by granting asylum. Yes, we have to grant asylum refugees who need that, because we all can be in need anytime. But at the same time, if we are not activizing EU-US and whatever foreign policy and assistance in those core regions where refugees are coming from, we will never be able to solve the refugee problem. And I think this one example is Syria, where our activities, Western activities, have been frequently blocked by Russian approach. We have been not being active enough in the region for some 2-3 years, and now it seems already too late to do anything. So European Union is divided because of such problems, because of disbelief in our own institutions, maybe sometimes because of the larger bureaucracy, and also because the younger generation is more alienated and they do not feel anymore those benefits and values which European Union have been bringing to people who still experience the Second World War. Another target which is weakening us, it is our transatlantic relationship. And the same people who are opposing European Union, either inside our organization or from outside, they are also very much opposing EU-US cooperation. So in many ways they are trying to discredit United States in the eyes of Europeans, either it is because of the spying or something else. Because if we will drift apart, if European Union and US will be not united in its foreign policy or its economic policy, then again, other regions and other countries outside the EU and outside alliance of this transatlantic friendship will be much stronger. Here I would like to point to one of the issues about which I am myself responsible in European Union, and it is trade agreements. I am responsible for bringing into force European Union-Canada trade agreement, which is called CETA. But at the same time, it is highly important that in the following years we can succeed also to make a trade agreement which is called TTIP between European Union and United States. There's a lot of skepticism and a lot of fear that this agreement will harm somebody. I personally would like to say that most of those facts are not based on the real scientific arguments, and before we agree to oppose anything, we first have to make a real research, because such kind of trade agreement will really make European Union and United States and all our friends, including Eastern Partnership countries, much stronger. I also would like to draw attention that in the current issues of war in Ukraine and around, we have to be very careful how do we use social media, modern connecting networks, and in general, are we educated representatives of democratic society, or we are just subjects which can be influenced by those media which are controlled by arrogant and authoritarian regimes. And here for you younger people, probably you can remember still such important pieces of music which have been also very much valued by other generations, like for instance Pink Floyd, very nice song, The Wall. And there I would like to remind such words as they are singing also in this song, like teacher, leave the kids alone, and we don't want to be a brick in the wall. And this is what these authoritarian regimes are trying to do via media. They want to make us into bricks, into suitable building material which would bring our partners and countries apart and which would destruct our democracies. I believe that this summer school will really assist and help all of us to have more education and thus better understanding of democratic, liberal and free institutions and exactly the value of this freedom for which we ourselves have been going in demonstrations in the Baltic countries 25 years ago, and because of our belief in this democracy, we regain our freedom. And we also believe that if you would have trust in yourself, you can go with your countries forward and construct not only freedom and free democratic governments in your own countries, but that you also can bring sustainable, wealthier societies and more happiness to all your people. And this is why we will be always willing and happy to help you, because we trust that our common security, common wealth, common advancement lies in our own hands. And this is important for all people in young generation, that we have to understand that we can influence politics, we can influence our countries, and we can make them better. Good luck.